You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com. Endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide.
Welcome to the Live the Life You Love Internet TV show, where each week your host, Helen Kerrison, explores how to bring more happiness, love, and conscious success into your life. Take your inner journey to discover who you really are, what you really want, and how to get it. Because, as Helen says, everything you're looking for is on the inside, not the outside. Join Helen to discover how to live the life you love and create your own no limits happiness. Now, here's your host, Helen Kerrison.
Welcome everybody to the Live the Life You Love show. I'm your host, Helen Kerrison, and this is where we're going to explore how to create the life you truly love. And it is going to be a lot of fun. I can just feel it. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. So we have a wonderful show lined up for you today with my guest, Patrice Morchain. Patrice is a healer and a teacher. He's French and he lives in northern France. Welcome, Patrice.
Welcome, Helen. Nice to see you.
You too.
Sure, yeah.
And I believe, you know, we're actually on the same time zone, aren't we? I'm here sitting in Brussels, Belgium, and you're in France, so that must be a first.
Yeah.
I'm really interested. I'm just so excited to have you on the show because you are a teacher and a healer. You have done some amazing things in your life, had some amazing experiences. And, you know, I'm really interested and somewhat curious, I must say, to discover the real Patrice today.
Yeah.
The Patrice on the inside, you know. What is it that makes Patrice tick? What are you about?
Well, I'm into truth and clarity. You know, I mainly teach workshops about improving vision and eyesight, and I believe there is always a perfection beyond our perception. And so I've got eyes to see, and I've got to be able to be willing to see beyond what I see, and then I start to have wisdom that comes through that and start to understand why things happen that way for my life and for my boss or for my children or for my house. And it gives me a possibility to change everything I want once I change my perception of the things.
Right. So did it actually really start with the eyesight and working with people in a sort of a healer capacity with people's vision, or how did that come about?
No, actually it didn't start with vision. You know, I met an Englishman some years ago, and he told me I had a green aura. At the time I didn't know anything about auras and you know, but apparently I looked at and started to see something, and in a book that I read from an American guy, it was said that green was a color for healing, and healing the green the color for healers. So I started to lay hands on people and start to see I could affect them. And at the time I was very depressed and very bad within, and I started a therapy using colors and deep tissue massage. And this woman, well, the person who was massaging me was using colored oils made in Great Britain, and that's why I went to see the person who made them. She was Vicky Wall, and although she was blind, she could see the auras, and then she told me I was a healer. And I had done my first healing some days before. And then she told me that healing was the path for my life. And that, but at the time, you know, I had done 7 years or 6 years in catering school, doing, you know, BEP, CAP, you know, all the French diplomas. And when I met Vicky on the 14th of February, you know, Valentine's Day, it's like my life really switched to what I'm doing now. And I said before, when I teach, you know, I used to be restaurateur, you know, restaurateur, and now I am, you know, I am helping people to rebuild their lives.
You're literally restoring people, but in the different sense.
That's right, yeah. And as I speak quite good English, I used to translate for an American healer in France, and he was teaching a vision a workshop on eyesight, which I do now, and my vision improved. Well, although I didn't do any of the exercises because I was translating, and my vision became totally clear without me doing anything. That's why when I notice now in my lectures, I have some people that in 45 minutes, they get to improve their eyesight just because they have understood what was happening in their consciousness.
That is amazing. Now, I'm going to stop you there because I want to ask you. I want to ask you a question about what happened for you. What were the challenges for you when you were told that you were actually a healer? However, you'd been studying something completely different, you know, the restaurant trade in France. Now, then I'm sure there are viewers and listeners who will relate to this. I've related to it as well, in that, you know, all of a sudden you're being told there's something else. There's something else, and you know that you've just dedicated 6-7 years of your life to a completely different thing. What are the challenges to actually change that direction?
Well, the biggest challenge was, you know, after I'd done the first workshop with Martin Brofman, I realized this method was very powerful, and because of my sensitivities, I decided I would be specialized with AIDS and HIV. And I just had the thought, but some months later, I was diagnosed being HIV positive. And so that was, you know, a real challenge, because at the time, the doctors thought I would die within 2 or 4 years. It was, you know, 1990s, you know, a long time ago. And I said at the time, you know, because if I have no chance with doctors, maybe something else can do. And that's why my book was told at the beginning, A Path to God, because I had nothing to lose, everything to win. And so it gave me some, some possibility to give up my job, because I said, if I'm supposed to die within 2 to 4 years, what do I want to do for these years? And so I decided to give up my job, and so I went to meet Louise A in Los Angeles, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson. At the time, she was not yet so well known as she is now. And I tried, I read and went to churches, and so I had to change totally the way I look at things. And really, I now realize it's really the thing. We have to be able to look beyond, because, you know, there's a play on words that might not work in English, but in France I talk about eyesight, and I told to people, vous voulez parler Dieu? You want to talk about eyes? I will talk about, je vais vous parler Dieu. I will talk about God, because it sounds alike. And because really Jesus was telling us, you know, do you have eyes not to see and ears not to hear? And actually, I know that there is something beyond my perception. And if I really knew who I was, I would start to be who I am, and then start to be much more happy and travel and do the things that makes me feel good. And also, I will be able to somehow contaminate other people by my positive attitude.
Contaminate in the most positive sense of the word.
That's right, because
well, you know, I'm really sorry there. I'm really interested in this because it seems to me, from my experience in what I do and from my personal experience, that we spend so much of our time doing things that we don't actually enjoy.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, doing stuff, working, doing whatever it is, maybe in relationships or maybe career or whatever, being in a stressful place and not really enjoying it. However, we stay there. We stay there, and it's like you suddenly had this realization, this reality that you might not be here in
that's right.
you know, a few days. Now, I would say, you know, if we could all just live our lives as if every day was our last.
That's right. Yeah.
Would we stay in those situations? Would we do the things that we don't enjoy?
Probably no. We would change. But the thing, you know, I said, you know, I change or I die. So that's why I decided to change. But the good thing is that I died at the same time, because the Patrice I used to be is dead. You know, I'm not the same Patrice I used to be. I have other beliefs and other relatives and everything. Everything's changed, another way of living.
Yeah.
You know?
And this is what it brings me actually back to my first question to you, which was about the real Patrice, the Patrice on the inside, who you discovered, presumably, who you know, you had to take that, what I like to call the inner journey, in order to find out who that Patrice really is.
That's right. Yeah, but actually, you know, those things I talk about in my workshops or classes are things we already know, because, you know, sometimes I know I can have a tendency to speak quite fast, but I know that even though people may not understand everything that I say, a part of them is saying, yes, this man is right. And because I know it happened to me when I was younger, and I believe that, you know, listen to your heart and don't listen to your head, because somewhere deep within we all know who we are, and we all know we are supposed to feel good and be happy. And because when somebody is feeling happy, you don't say, oh wow, Helen, what's happening? Why do you feel happy? But when you're concerned or something, then I say, well, Helen, what's happening? Why are you sad?
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
It's not our natural state, you know.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. And this is the key, isn't it? I mentioned the word key. That's a key word for you as well.
Yeah.
We're going to find out. Yeah. This is the key. You know, it's about actually connecting with that inner happiness.
Yeah.
Because when you do, you radiate out, and you do contaminate, as you say, everybody around you, and you bring it all back to you.
That's right. Before, you know, some years ago, I used to think I was contaminating. I was able to contaminate. Now I know that I can contaminate. I am extremely contagious.
I know. We can feel it. We're experiencing it right now, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, but now we just have to let ourselves, you know, bathe in this energy and just let this energy expand within ourselves. Because deep within, you know, it's like a spark of light that is being relived, reactivated, and we just okay, and then we expand within ourselves, and then we become much more aware of these possibilities we didn't notice, although we had eyes to see. That's why it's in front of our eyes. There are no coincidences. You know, my book starts with there are no chance, no coincidence, only rendezvous. It's a French song that I use as some words at the beginning of the book, but I know that there are no coincidences, and sometimes people they would tell you, oh, what a chance, you just here, you talk to me about this movie, but there are no chance, no coincidence. The universe is perfect. It has always been. It will always be.
So how do people how do we get ourselves in that space to actually recognize and appreciate these coincidences and then actually act on them in order to make our lives happier, to live life to the full?
Well, unfortunately, most people need to go through deep experiences, just like I've been through AIDS, or some people have got through very serious conditions, relationships or whatever. But sometimes, as I say in French, we don't grow on a cotton wool. On grandit pas dans le coton, and we have sometimes to be challenged with some really strange, strong stuff, and then we open our eyes, and then we say, wow, my God, there's a possibility, and there is something beyond, but I have to be looking. I have to search for it. But I also believe that the consciousness that I am, that you are, that we all are, is functioning in a perfect way, like a car. In a car, you don't use the brake as you use the speed up, because it will slow down the machine. But some people say, but yes, I can use both of them because I've got 2 feet and anything. But if you do so, you will block yourself. I had a woman one time in Paris who was asking me about cataract, and she said, "But Patrice Morchain, you won't tell me that we can heal cataract?" And so I told her, "No, madam, I'm not going to say that to you." But after that, she said, "But I'm asking you a question." So I reflected back to her, because that's what I'm doing. I'm reflecting to people what they're doing. And so she said, "But I asked you for a question." And I said, "No, madam, you affirmed that cataract was incurable. Do you have a real question?" And so she had to turn, her tongue 7 times in her mouth, as it said. And then she said, "But can we heal cataract?" And so I returned to her, "But do you believe in it? If you do believe in it, yes, of course. If you don't believe in it, yes, of course. The universe can only say yes." Yes, you can.
Yes.
That's
Yes, and that just rings so true to me, about believing and almost just connecting and allowing yourself to believe. The first thing is giving yourself permission to believe something which actually the truth as you know it at the moment doesn't want to accept. It's allowing yourself to open up to, as you said, other perspectives.
It's not from me, but blessed are those who can believe without seeing, because that's what I've got to do. I've got to believe I can achieve success and happiness and whatever I want on healing. Also, everything is proving me the opposite. I must be able to look beyond that.
Okay, Patrice.
Challenge. Yeah.
It is a huge challenge. We're going to take just a short break, and then we're going to come back and continue this absolutely impassioned conversation.
Thank you.
See you in just a bit.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV Network. Interact with us by calling our live shows at 303-872-0503. Send us a tweet at RCRN on Twitter, or send a contact request to Real Coaching Radio on Skype. Would you like to host your own internet TV show? Express that one thing that you're passionate about to millions of people? Speak your mind. Create deeper and longer-lasting relationships with your viewers. Create value, deliver results, and effectively build your personal brand. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664.
Do you need a marketing and branding engine to drive leads into your website and product funnels? We will distribute your video, audio, blog content, and build backlinks, including social proof, and much more, to all corners of the Internet, designed to attract prospects and the search engines. Visit www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664 for more information.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Live the Life You Love show with Helen Kerrison and the amazing Patrice Morchain. Welcome back, Patrice.
Oh, thank you, Helen.
I was thinking during that short break, and it was something I got on your website, which just seems to sum up some of the things you were just talking about. And it was in French from an original English text by Richard Bach, so I've translated it back into English. And it says, "That which the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly."
So true. That's so true. You know, and as I said to people, you know, the caterpillar doesn't die to become a butterfly. I don't die, but I've got to be transformed and to be reborn, because every second I can choose to be reborn, because if I decide that I am the same person I was yesterday, then I'm going to be that very same person. That's why I've got to believe I can be something else and start to notice the slightest progress that I make. You know, there is a
Go on.
No, because there is a saying that is from the Réunion Island. It's in English, in French, but it says chemin grand bois, which is step by step, which we'll get there. Well, you know, like you know, our goal might be far away, but step by step we'll get there. So that's why we have to set a goal, and then we know that we're going to make it, and we would remark that each step gets us closer to our goals. Just like as I know that I might not be like I know I could be, but when I look back at what I used to be 20 years ago, wow, I know I made a huge difference, and I know this difference I made it myself. That's why everyone can you know, strengthen their willpower and decide, because as I say, you know, nobody did for me what I did for me, so nobody did for you, Helen, what you did for yourself. You know, you are a self-made woman, just like I'm a self-made man.
We're all self-made people.
Yeah,
this is the thing, isn't it? There's nobody else who is making me who I am. There's nobody else who's making you who you are. But the thing is, so much of my life, I know, speaking personally, so much of life, I thought that was the case. I thought that I was who I was because of what was happening around me, the relationships I was in, the job I was doing, the things that just were, you know, the life that was just happening. Yeah. That's what I thought was making me. And wow, just the realization and the truth when it just hits you that actually that is so far away from how it really is, and that we are so totally responsible for creating our own lives.
That's right. We are not what you think we are. And I have my ways of speaking in French, but I usually tell to women, you're a woman, get out your balls, because within each of us, men or women, we have both balls and we have sensitivities, because we are very powerful beings, and we are at the same time very sensitive beings. That's why we sometimes we don't have to face a very strong challenge to be overwhelmed, you know?
You're so right. And this brings me on to something else, you know, the idea of really being who we are and understanding who we are. And this is a word that I use a lot. And it's one of my words that when people ask me to describe myself, it's one that I use. Passionate. Yeah? Connecting with what you're passionate about. Connecting with what is really the truth for you, not what you're doing on the surface, which is often stuff which just happens to have come along on your path, but what really makes you sing on the inside. So what happened for you when you connected with what you were passionate about?
Well, for me, it's expressing myself, you know. I talk about levels of consciousness that I describe in my book or somewhere in classes, but, you know, there's a state of being when you start to express yourself, you know, there are things within, and when you start to express them, then you feel lighter, and like a cook that cooks, or dancer that dances, or whatever, and I feel that my job is to be what I am, and it's so good for me to see how much I can impact some people and transform their life. I don't transform their life; they transform their life. I've just been a catalyst to that,
Absolutely.
Because I express the way consciousness works for me, and then they realize that it is also true for them, and now they can drive their car in a much more convenient way. Because sometimes we're driving in a very bad way. We're braking as we want to accelerate,
And we wonder why it doesn't work.
Yeah. But there are no coincidences, Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you specifically doing at the moment?
Right now.
That is you're really passionate about and you're sharing with the world.
Right now it's because I used to teach workshops about improving vision and eyesight, but now my most passion is my book Love is the Key, and
Do you have a copy here with you? Can you?
Oh yes, it's already available. People can buy it on the internet, or you can buy it a paperback. But I know that there's a wonderful movie that's coming next, and the message "Love is the Key" for me. As I wrote my book, A Path to God, the last chapter was already called "Love is the Key," as a realization. And I know that love is the key of anything, and the absence of the perception of love is the cause of everything that we perceive as being problems. Because there are no problems, it's just me that perceive them. And if I change my perception, my eyes, for me, the vision is very paramount, because my eyes are not there to behold reality, but to construct it. Because if a person says, "Oh, that's my boss who's naughty, who will never raise me or change me or everything," my boss will be that way. But if I dare looking at my boss, able to be gentle and nicer with me and raise me, and my will will be done. Thy will be done. My will has always been done. Also, I was not aware of that, but now I am aware. My eyes opened, and that's what I love doing.
I love this reference to the eyes, because in yoga practice, Kundalini pose, they say close your two eyes, open your third one.
Right.
And
that's the one of clarity.
It's the one of clarity. It's the one of intuition. It's how we really see the most important things and the truth. So.
That's what you say right now. It just makes me, because what I do about eyesight, I talk about chakras, and the vision and eyesight is controlled by the solar plexus chakra. I don't know whether you can see it. It's the yellow, but the eyes are not located by the solar plexus. You recognize that your eyes are located by the brow chakra, which represents your consciousness, the true spirit that you are, and that's why for me, the eyes are so important, because somebody who's being outward, what is not within, you can see in his eyes. He's not clear, he's making, nonsenses, it's not very clear. But somebody who's being outside, like he is inside, he is bright, and is, comment dire en français, il est clair, he's clear, and he's light.
And you know what? That for me, that is really being authentic. The authentic is a word we hear a lot of these days.
Right.
And you can see it straight away when the eyes are reflecting outwardly, like you say, the inner person. Then you know it straight away.
And that's so nice also to see many people who have read my book who tell me how the clarity and the truth of my being, because I'm the way I am. And one time I was traveling back from Tahiti and going to Réunion Island, and then a guy in France was telling me, "But your life is a dream." But I said, "Of course I dream my life." You know, because I dreamed being still alive. I dreamed going to
Yeah.
Tahiti, giving workshop in Australia, and wherever I am called.
Yeah.
You know?
And it happens. You
Yes.
manifest it.
Yeah.
So, dreaming, being passionate, imagination, these are all the things that we need to
Dream
actually
big.
create what we want to turn up in our lives.
Yeah.
And then take action.
Right. Practice, 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 practice. Oh, I forgot to tell you, practice, 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 practice. That's the thing,
Because that is the key as well, It does take that determination. It takes that willingness to actually act, because a lot of the times the stuff you have to do is painful. It's really uncomfortable because you're doing something which is different. It's challenging you. You're having to change.
Yes, but not doing what you need to do will be much more painful if you don't do it. That's why sometimes you will do it. So sometimes I might be, rude to some people, but, if I tell them, if you don't change, it's because you're not feeling bad enough. Once you get bad enough, then you are determined to see clearly, to do what you want to do. There is a woman that was very influential in my life, and her name was Gita Malas, and she transcribed the Conversation with Angels and Dialogue avec l'Ange, and she was interviewed when she was 80 years old about each of us having guardian angels and how to connect them. And then she said, because you're thirsty. Parce que vous avez soif, because you're thirsty. Because if you say, well, it would be nice if I could have a pizza tonight, I'm not sure I'm going to get a pizza tonight. But if I'm determined to get pizza tonight, I'm going to get to the Italian store and I'm going to do my eye exercises, I'm going to do my meditations, my relaxation. I am motivated, and I used to be motivated because of HIV,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you really need to have this, needs to be on two levels.
Well,
it needs to be real, that clarity and the passion and the knowing, being clear about setting your intentions, knowing what you want.
That's right.
And then actually taking the action.
That's right. And doing what I need to do. Because like my book, Love is a Key, I translated it myself because as I'm so conscious of the importance of the words, I wanted to translate it myself so that when it's translated into Chinese and Norwegian or Spanish, which I have no control over those languages, I'm sure that the translators will have to go through some versions made by Patrice Morchain, because I'm sure Martin Brofman was very aware of the words I was using when I was translating for him, and if I was not translating the exact word, the exact intention, then I would understand that. So
absolutely. Words are very important.
Intentions.
And to be able to capture the intention through the words is really important.
So true.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's coming up next then, Patrice? What's next in the Patrice show?
Next, the universe will tell me one day at a time, because future doesn't exist and past is already dead. So there is only one thing that happens in the world today is my interaction with you now. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen next, but maybe I believe I can get to do workshops everywhere and continue transmitting the message of love. But that's the most important thing, because it is before our eyes, and many people don't see it, and sometimes, we go through rough experiences with parents or everything, but as I say, parents are victims because parents, they just reproduce what they have been told.
And this is it, isn't it? We're all, in some respect, part of our programming. In fact, we definitely are. We're all part of this programming and that we've sort of inherited. And what you made a point about there is so important, that the past is the past.
Yeah.
Yes, presently we are the product of our past. However, that doesn't mean our future is the product of our past, and it's absolutely now that we're creating it.
No, you know, Wayne Dyer, that you probably know this guy, is a wonderful person, Wayne Dyer. He says, you know, when you see a boat floating on the ocean, he leaves a trail. But obviously what is making the boat move is the power of the engine. So the trail has no power of that. So, but sometimes people say, oh, well, when I was 4, this happened then, and that happened to me, da, da, da. But I don't, you know, the past is the past. What do I do now? Of course, I am the product of my past, but what I do now will decide what I will become tomorrow.
And it's that choice, isn't it? It's the choice that you make in the moment. Yeah, it is. Everything is a choice, which is, you know, I've had conversations recently, and it's about sort of the difference between can and can't, and will and won't, and you know, I say, you know, there's no such thing as can't.
No,
you
can.
You can. It's whether you choose to or not.
Yeah, or things you haven't yet learned how to do. Exactly. You know, there are no things I cannot do, only things that I have not yet learned how to do.
Yes, and you've
not yet learn to speak English or to do whatever I want to do.
And you know what, Patrice, it doesn't mean that you're going to do it. It doesn't mean that you're going to do all of these things. However, the possibility is there, and the choice is with you.
Yeah.
So really, you know, that's perhaps certainly for me when I understood that actually everything was within my control, and life was a choice, and that I had the choice, and it was nobody else's choice.
Always.
Yeah. It was just so. It was really enlightening. Really enlightening.
That's right. Yeah.
So what would you suggest or advise or say to the viewers who are watching and listening to you here, who are thinking, you know, my life is really not what I want it to be, and I want to do something. Where do I start?
Well, start by becoming aware. Taking some, you know, looking at yourself and look at yourself the way you think, the way you talk, and the way you act. Because, you know, when I was with HIV, I went to India to meet the master Sai Baba, and it was to say, watch for your thoughts, words, and actions. Because the thoughts become words, and the words become actions, and the actions turn into habits. So if I want to change my habit, which was a habit of non-well-being, I have to learn to transform it into a new habit, because it's just a chronic thought. If I keep thinking, I can't, it's possible, it's difficult, then that's what I get. You know, then I have to put some new thought in my way of thinking, and that this new way of thinking will induce a new way of being.
Absolutely. So it really, you know, it can be a very a definite process. You know, very actionable steps in a way.
Just listen to yourself and become aware of what you are expressing with your words, thoughts, and actions. And if you start to recognize, you said, oh, I can't do that, then cancel, and say, well, no, I can do it. I have not yet learned how to do it. You know, for improving vision, sometimes some people say, I can't see clearly. I say, no, you can see clearly, but you just don't have the experience yet. You know, I can prove to you that maybe you can see clearly. Even if you have a blurry picture before your eyes, you see clearly a blurry picture, you see.
I love this juxtaposition between the clarity on the inside, you know, and the clarity of the vision through our
because
eyes.
To me, it is so obvious. You know, it's before our eyes. And now, you know, it used to be before my eyes. I didn't see it. But once I met Martin Brofman and everything, other things I do now, I said, but my God, you know, it was a rendezvous. You know, all this knowledge was within. But I have to go beyond the knowledge that I have, because I have accumulated some knowledge, but this knowledge is useless. The real knowledge is the one that I know. You know, when it's deep within, you know, it's different, because this time you know. You just have not you've not read. You know.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
the
getting
big
that feeling. It's something that you know is absolutely true. I was working with a group of ladies this weekend, and we were at a certain stage, and one particular one of the participants, we were connecting with our purpose, and the intuition and just the knowing. And at a certain point, you know, I said to her, because she was talking about horses, and I said, okay, is this horsemanship something, is it you? And she just said yes. And I said, is that true? And she said yes. Absolutely sure. Absolutely. And it was that, all of a sudden, that knowing, you know, that real truth that almost hits you sometimes.
That's right.
When you realize, actually, that's me. That's me. That's part of me. Wonderful.
Yeah, you realize, you know, words are so important. You know, at the beginning was the word, and that's right. You know, if we call people realized, it's because they have realized. So because one time, you know, it's a matter of time. Any baby will become an adult. So any person who was asleep will wake up. So that's what's happening now around the world. More and more people are becoming aware of their abilities and recognizing that it's different. It's important to behave in a different way with animals, with nature, with people. You know, with many things that we haven't been really recognizing before, because everything is God, everything is consciousness.
Everything is connected, and everything is one, and that energy is vibrating.
That's right. That's one. When somebody has reconnected with his own truth, he reconnects with somebody else's truth. Mm-hmm. That's why many people who have read my book are sometimes they say, "But you have explained my life." And I said, no, that's my life. but we all have the same considerations. Where do I come from? Who am I? What can I do? You know.
My purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
In your book, actually, I noticed one of the sentences, and it says in your book you get naked, not literally, I presume, but sort of metaphorically speaking. You know, what sort of an experience is that? Because you know, in a way, that's what we all have to do.
Yeah, just be who you are. And recognize that you've got limits up until now, and now I recognize that these limits have been somehow damaging myself. You know, I don't feel good with those limits, so I start to work now on becoming more and raising my standards and my abilities and becoming more adults. You know,
Wonderful.
Because we are all becoming adults.
Yeah, we are. We're all on that path. We're going to take just a short break again.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute.
Thank you.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV Network. Interact with us by calling our live shows at 303-872-0503. Send us a tweet at RCRN on Twitter, or send a contact request to Real Coaching Radio on Skype.
Do you need a marketing and branding engine to drive leads into your website and product funnels? We will distribute your video, audio, blog content, and build backlinks, including social proof, and much more, to all corners of the Internet, designed to attract prospects and the search engines. Visit www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664 for more information.
Would you like to host your own internet TV show? Express that one thing that you're passionate about to millions of people? Speak your mind. Create deeper and longer-lasting relationships with your viewers. Create value. Deliver results. And effectively build your personal brand. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Live the Life You Love show with me, your host, Helen Kerrison, and the wonderful Patrice Morchain. Welcome back, Patrice.
Thank you. I would say the feather that you perceive in my eyes is because you have a log within yours. We only perceive what we have within. So that's why if some listeners are recognizing some truth in what I express now, it's because they have that within. And now just explode that, just expand that and become who you are to become. Because we are caterpillars and we are supposed to be butterflies.
Absolutely. And when you know that, when you're aware of that, it makes actually living life so much simpler. Because the things that actually annoy you or upset you or make you angry or whatever, they don't anymore.
No, because
when you can just see them differently and you can see them for what they are and other people for what they're going through, then life is simple,
And I'm not
just
alone.
No, that's right.
I'm always connected.
Always. And when you see things that are going on around you that maybe you don't like or that are not resonating with you, then you actually have the ability to just let that go. Because how many people get tied up in other people's drama? Drama, the stories that are going on and that you sort of get sucked into. It's about letting that go.
Yeah, but it's also about, once you recognize how your perceptions function, because for me, I'm a consciousness within, and there is a kind of a bubble around me, which is made about my beliefs and perceptions, everything I've lived in the past, and it makes like a bubble around me, and when I look at the world, I don't see the world the way it is, but the way I am. And so I've got to be able to once I recognize that my bubble has been distorted, what I perceive is only what I perceive. And then I can choose to perceive something else. Because I know that my judgments prevent me from seeing the good in everything.
Yeah.
Because there is some reason for anything. The growth of ourselves.
So right. And that awareness, being able to see that you're actually surrounded by that bubble, as you put it, that's the first step. Because until that happens, then nothing will happen. Nothing will change. There'll be no new perspective.
That's right. Once you become aware of the way your consciousness functions, you can change your patterns, and you understand how you have behaved that way because you raised that way, because you experienced that problem, and because the perception in the now is only because of what you had experienced in the past. So once you have become aware of that, you can change your perception and start to believe in hope and something different in your relationships or in your business or whatever.
And that's when you get to that stage, that's when you actually really truly understand and believe that everything is possible.
Yeah, that's right. you don't know intellectually, you know. Within,
in capital letters.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's experience.
Absolutely. And it's about allowing your brain, if you like, or your mind to accept that knowing, and just getting on with it.
Yeah, because at the time, when I started to translate and to teach classes, I was teaching my perception create my reality. So I had to change my perception, my beliefs to change my reality. But I started to experience things that were way beyond what I believed. I didn't even believe in what I experienced. So I had to somehow change my belief system to include, what I call, what you might call God or source or energy or love or something that appears to be beyond you, but which actually is yourself, In India, the master I was meeting used to say Prema Swarupa, which means incarnation of love, because that's all that we are. We are incarnations of love, and that's only by being who we really are deep within that we can start to feel joy and happy and live one day at a time, no plan in too many years ahead, just, tomorrow, and just today, first today.
First today, first moment.
One step at a time, petit pas, petit pas, one step at a time.
And it happens, yeah. And how did you? I'm curious. What was the process you went through in order to actually gradually change your belief systems? Because that will be a big one for a lot of people.
Well, I had to go through this dramatic change because, I change or I die. So that's why, I had to, once I had understood how consciousness functions and the way I was programmed in a limiting way, I had to become aware of that and then reprogram myself step by step, day after day, one step at a time, and to realize much more, who I really was. And we are all unlimited beings, And so each time I pronounce a word that reflects my limitedness, being limited, I have to change that, No, I can do that, even though I haven't achieved to do it yet, but I can be happy, and I can go to Tahiti, and I can do what I love to do, or I can choose to do something I don't like to do.
That's it, isn't it? Everything is a choice.
And
it's whether you decide to actually exercise that choice. And either way, a choice will be made. It'll either be you making the choice, or it'll be the default, the programming, everything else that will make it for you and will create a life.
Yeah, but this
choice... But it won't be the life.
But the choice you make, consciously or non-consciously, will result in you being happy or unhappy. So there are no bad choices. There are just choices that make you happy and choices that make you unhappy. Just do your choices, feel unhappy, and then understand and realize that you know now that you've got to make another choice.
That's so interesting because
simple,
the teacher I shared with a while ago, and she was saying, just move, just do anything, take a step. It doesn't even matter what step it is, but when you're moving, you can course correct afterwards, right? If you're not moving, you're going nowhere. So, even if it's you don't know whether it's right, there's no right or wrong, you're not sure, just move.
Yeah, because, each step you make will have a result to make you happy or unhappy. And then you decide, I keep doing this choice that makes you unhappy, but this time you are masochistic,
Well, what's the message, If you're making a choice and it's making you unhappy, the message is, okay, there's another choice to be made.
Yeah.
So it's a series of choices.
Yeah. It's for me. It's very it's obvious, but it's a process, and I know we have to live, take some time. When in my classes, I tell to people, if we say that it took 6 days to God to create the world, if it takes me more than 6 days to create myself, no problem. I've got the time. I've got eternity. I just have to do my first step. In India, they say you make one step towards God, He makes 100 towards you. But the first one you've got to make yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody will do this step for you. Yeah. You're not alone. You are being motivated to doing by God, by this inner part of you that you are, but that you haven't realized yet. But that this part of you, because you can't tolerate being unhappy too long. There is
that's right.
a level of we can sustain being unhappy for that much. One time we reach the bottom of the pool, and then we just have to make a little effort, and just poof, we are being lifted up again.
Yeah, that's it. It's about really making your choices, seeing where they take you, and then at a certain point, deciding, okay, this is going to be different, because if we continue to do the same things the whole time, we're going to get the same results. It really is about changing that and doing something different. And the key, really, the thing is really to be able to be aware of that and do it before something cataclysmic comes into your life to actually force your hand.
But it's never too late. It's never too late. Never too late. We just have to wake up. One time we wake up and we say, no, I'm fed up, One time I was overweight, and, one morning I woke up at 4 o'clock, and then it was too much. And I said, no, that's too much. And I decided to get, to reduce my weight at the time. It's a process, but you decide you're definite. I'm determined to eat a pizza tonight. I'm determined to raise my level of consciousness, to improve my relationship with my boss, with my children, with whoever,
You need to have that determination, and then the awareness, and then make the choices that will take you along that.
That's true, yeah.
Wonderful. So Patrice, what... I have to ask you this because he's worried now.
No, I'm clear anyway. Go ahead.
I'd just like you to, if you could, just
in 2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
Become aware.
What are these key words for you? The words that were sort of really fundamental to you and your happiness and your life. As it is, as you are at peace.
Well, being aware, being conscious, and choosing the bright side of life. There is a movie from Monty Python, and always choose the bright side of life, And because, one time I was very depressed when I used to go to my therapist. Usually I would feel much better after the session, but one time I was feeling very bad, and it was raining. I was out the metro in Paris, and I said, and then the sun is gray and it's raining, and suddenly I saw a triangle of blue sky, and a voice inside me told me, Patrice, there is always a un coin ciel bleu, a corner of blue sky somewhere, but sometimes you've got to search for it. So that's why I've got to become aware of what I entertain in my consciousness. If I entertain beliefs like I can't, it's difficult, I may not, it's incurable, I'm somehow, je coule mon bateau. When I'm sinking my own boat. And sometimes, so in a lecture I gave, a person, said, whether I was always like that. I said, no, I'm not always like that. But at the time, I gave up my job because of AIDS. I said, sometimes, of course, I was fearing I would die, or maybe my workshops would not function or everything. But at the time, I was aware that if I would entertain those limiting beliefs, I would sink my boat, I was doing something that was a nuisance to me.
It wasn't helping. So being aware, being conscious,
being aware,
looking on the bright side of life, positive, these are the keys. Yeah. Well, Patrice, thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Talking to you tonight. Yeah. Thanks to the viewers, listeners, everybody out there who have shared this time with us this evening. Have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in.
Yes.
Have a lovely rest of the evening.
Be happy, all of you.
And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ObesityHotline.com, the silent killer, providing support and encouragement in the prevention of this rising epidemic. Featuring the Body by Vi Challenge. Is there a quick answer to the question? Go to www.ObesityHotline.com. You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.